And thanks to you at home for joining us this hour. We are coming to you tonight from Atlanta, Georgia, the site of tomorrow night's Democratic presidential candidates debate. We'll have more on that later in this hour. Very excited for the debate, by which I mean I am very nervous to have anything to do with it. But here we are. It's unavoidable now. The impeachment proceedings against President Trump were a doubleheader today, with hearings both this morning starting at 9 a.m. Eastern, and then another marathon hearing this afternoon starting at 3 o'clock Eastern, extending well into the evening tonight, ending less than a half an hour ago now. The second hearing today, the afternoon and evening session that just ended, was technically a first, though, because the two witnesses who were called specifically in the impeachment hearing this afternoon were the first witnesses who were specifically requested by the Republicans on the committee. Now, we don't know exactly why the Republicans on the committee were so eager to call these particular witnesses today. It kind of seems clear from how it went with them today that the Democrats would have been just as happy to call them, too, if the Republicans hadn't. But this is specifically who the Republicans wanted, and it seems like it's probably not the way they had wanted it to go.
It's not credible to me that former Vice President Biden would have been influenced in any way by financial or personal motives in carrying out his duties as Vice President. I don't think that raising 2016 elections or Vice President Biden or these things I consider to be conspiracy theories that have been circulated by the Ukrainians, particularly the former prosecutor general, are sort of they're not things that we should be pursuing as part of our national security strategy with Ukraine. At the one in-person meeting I had with Mayor Giuliani on July 19th, Mayor Giuliani raised and I rejected the conspiracy theory that Vice President Biden would have been influenced in his duties as Vice President by money paid to his son. As I previously testified, I have known Vice President Biden for 24 years. He is an honorable man, and I hold him in the highest regard.
That is Ambassador Kurt Volker, who resigned as U.S. envoy to Ukraine when the impeachment scandal broke open a few weeks ago. He was asked to testify before these proceedings. He accepted that invitation to testify, and he resigned his job. What that means, though, because he was the first witness they asked to come in and give a closed-door deposition, that tells you that the Democratic leadership of the impeachment committees were happy to hear from Ambassador Volker as a witness in the first instance. I can surmise that the Democratic leadership of those committees would have been happy calling him again for this public testimony of the type that he went through today. That said, he was specifically a requested Republican witness. The Republicans on the committee specifically wanted Ambassador Volker and Tim Morrison, who he testified alongside today. I'm not exactly sure why the Republican members of the committee were so psyched to have him there today, specifically as their witness, but there he was. It was Ambassador Volker and, as I mentioned, a senior national security official who also recently resigned his post. The man he testified alongside is named Tim Morrison. Morrison and Volker are the witnesses who the Republicans wanted to make sure got their turn before the cameras in these televised hearings. But whatever the Republicans' motivation was for that, honestly, their testimony wasn't awesome for the president's defense. Not at all. Quite the contrary.
Now, after this larger meeting with Vice President Pence and President Zelensky, you testified at your deposition that you saw Ambassador Sondland immediately go over and pull Andrei Yermak aside and have a conversation. Is that right?
I mean, it was President Zelensky left the room, Vice President Pence left the room, and in sort of an ante-room, Ambassador Sondland and Presidential Advisor Yermak had this discussion, yes.
And what did Ambassador Sondland say to tell you that he told Mr. Yermak?
That the Ukrainians would have to have the Prosecutor General make a statement with respect to the investigations as a condition of having the aid lifted.
Now, did you tell Ambassador Bolton about this conversation as well?
I reached out to him as well and requested his availability for a secure phone call.
And what was his response when you explained to him what Ambassador Sondland had said?
Tell the lawyers.
Now, a few days later, on September 7th, you spoke again to Ambassador Sondland, who told you that he had just gotten off the phone with President Trump. Isn't that right?
That sounds correct, yes.
What did Ambassador Sondland tell you that President Trump said to him?
If I recall this conversation correctly, this was where Ambassador Sondland related that there was no quid pro quo, but President Zelensky had to make the statement and that he had to want to do it.
And by that point, did you understand that the statement related to the Biden and 2016 investigations?
I think I did, yes.
And that was essentially a condition for the security assistance to be released?
I understood that that's what Ambassador Sondland believed.
After speaking with President Trump?
That's what he represented.
Did you tell Ambassador Bolton about this conversation as well?
I did, yes.
And what did he say to you?
He said to tell the lawyers.
He said, once again, when I called him the second time for something like this, once again, he told me, tell the lawyers. Do we need a theme song for today? How about tell the lawyers? I mean, fire up the embroidery hoops, right? Day 3 of the Trump impeachment hearings have provided us with yet another set of words to live by. Words to stitch onto a pillow? At least words to watch out for in testimony about how the president's own appointees talked to each other when they learned about what the president had been cooking up behind closed doors. Dude, don't even tell me. Talk to the lawyers. Dude, are you calling me about another one of these? I said, talk to the lawyers. Do you have the lawyer's phone number? Can you get to the lawyer's office? Talk to the lawyers.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.